Now, the state visit of King Charles to France has been postponed amid tensions over President Macron's pension reforms.
And in other royal news, Prince Harry is directing his charitable focus towards the Global Boyhood Initiative, whatever that's all about, which I believe seeks to make boys less toxic. Again, what's that all about? Why are boys toxic? Anyway, the royal commentator, Angela Levin, joins us now. But let's go back to that breaking news, Angela, about this state visit being delayed.
I think the important thing that it was President Macron who told them not to come. It would have seemed very rude, and people would have absolutely gasped if we'd said, or the palace had said, they didn't feel it was safe to go. The fact that he says that means he's actually taking a lot of care, that he's not putting them in a dangerous situation. What is interesting, actually, is that the whole thing is over the French having their time from, they have to work from 62 years to 64 years before they can retire. Where here in the UK, it's gone up to 68. Has anyone said a murmur? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But before I came here, I'd read that there won't be any red flags for them. There wouldn't be any red carpets for them. For the people who put it on are actually decided to go on strike. So the whole thing looked absolutely ridiculous.
So the royal family wouldn't have had any red carpets because they were all on strike.
Well, you don't think
so it wouldn't have looked very good, would it? The whole thing would have been a mess.
Not a single flag round. It would have been very
so Macron's hand was forced, really, by the protests, by the demonstrations.
By the protests. Yeah. Yes,
I'm sure. I presume that the King and Queen are probably quite relieved, though, aren't they? Because it would have been quite an awkward position for them to be in and go into France with all those.
It could be dangerous, because Versailles, where they were going to have this huge banquet, you know, the French hate that. They hate the royals. I mean, they're not a royal nation, really. And, you know, in the mid-70s, that they had this revolution, and they see that that's the place of the revolution and aristocrats and too much money. And so to have the banquet there probably wasn't a good idea.
Was it a big mistake by Macron, really, the whole thing?
Well, I don't think it's a big mistake that he puts up the retirement date by 2 years.
No, I meant this visit for them to go to Versailles knowing what the French public thinks.
Yes, I think Versailles they could have avoided. They could have gone to somewhere differently. You know, they could have gone to, you know, some place. There's lots of places where they could have gone for dinner. I can't recommend them. I haven't been there for a long time. But it's just very important that we realise that it came from Macron. It didn't come from the UK. People can't attack us for not going. He says it's, you know, not wise to come, and we just have to listen. They will be going to Germany, though.
Yes.
They will be going to Germany.
Can I read out what some of our viewers have said? Sean here says, good, I'm glad our monarchs are staying away. Not an appropriate time, considering all that's going on.
Harvey, though, says, that's a shame. I was looking forward to seeing the pictures of the visit. I think we all were, to be honest, Harvey, with all that carnage going on in France at the same time.
Yeah, Margot, I'm sure that was a wise decision. They do have a few issues going on in France.
And Jeanette says, in my opinion, the postponement is a relief. But Lorraine says he should definitely go. So, but of course, it's like you say, Macron who's called it off, and so the King can't go.
I think what the French should actually think about is that, you know, the King is 74, Camilla is 75. They're working day and night for the country, and that people are sort of getting grumpy because they have to stay another 2 years is absolutely pathetic.
Would it not have been a good message for Macron to show the King and Queen? They're saying, look, he's 74, they're working, and you know.
That's why I'm telling you, you know, we're not, you know, what's wrong with actually working when things are difficult for the country?
Do you think we're seeing too much of the royal family?
Never.
At the moment, because people would say you've got the King and the Queen, but Kate, are we not seeing too much of her? Has she got too much exposure? Are we seeing her more as a sort of some sort of showbiz rather than royalty? Is she competing with Meghan?
At all. She's working hard because there are not so many people doing it. Harry and Meghan and Prince Andrew have all left, so they've got loads to do. They want to keep up. They can't do all the contracts, but I think it's very wrong to call them that celebrities, because they go to occasions, they go to places, engagements of charities and things, and there's crowds and crowds of people there cheering them. That's not their fault.
But somebody who is a celebrity is Harry now, isn't it? Harry and Meghan.
It's Harry and Meghan are doing that. They're not members of the royal family.
What's this though about making boys less toxic?
Global Boyhood.
Well, yes, I've got it. Global Boyhood Initiative, who say that gender is not tied to sexual organs. Now, in my world, it's exactly the opposite. They are tied to sexual organs.
He's joining in on the sort of trans issue here, is he? Is that
No,
what
it
he's
just
doing?
means that everyone's got to be neutral. Everyone's got to be, the same as everybody else. Now, I find that very odd that Meghan's let that go ahead, because she's a huge feminist. And why does she want to come down a few steps to be very similar to Harry? I mean, he's a shadow of himself now, and he is very weak, and perhaps he thinks that that's very feminine and rather nice.
So maybe
he can
this
boss him around.
oscillating and fluid, was he relating it to him? He was saying, you don't need the masculinity, I found tears and meditation. Is it all about him? Is it all about Harry being absorbed with Harry?
But he was a real military guy. He was very much a guy's guy. Why does she go for somebody like that and then try and emasculate them? It doesn't make any sense
she's
to me.
She's successfully done it, hasn't she?
Well, she has successfully done it. But look what he looks like. Look what he's, he's anxious, he's depressed, he's taking drugs, which he tells the world,
might lose his
might not get back in America.
Yes, in America.
Yes.
Esther always thinks she can change me, Angela. She always thinks that she can...
I'd never want to change you, Phil, if you're perfect just the way you are.